Hello and welcome to the Business Spotlight interview series. I am your host, Barrett McDonald, and today I am joined with Jason Pyett, president and founder of Playwell Bricks Design Studio Limited. Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to kick things off with a brief background as to who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. The history of what I do is a little interesting. When I started this business, it actually started as a non-for-profit. I was doing workshops with kids, trying to teach them to be creative with Lego. And in doing so, I needed some funding and obviously Lego. So I ran a non-for-profit where I was buying and selling and ended up with a literal ton of Lego over a 2-year period. And through all of those interactions and trying to inspire the kids, um, I came up with some interesting building techniques that went viral and a few builds that people were really interested in. And that was almost 4 years ago. And I got my first commission then. And now we're here today where I'm going along and working with some of the top brands in the world, creating custom Lego creations for them.
So offline, you were kind of mentioning that a lot of businesses will use it as like a gift or a training module. Is that the type of flow? Is someone's like, I want my staff to have a shape like our symbol and everyone will get their own Lego kit type thing?
Yeah, so there's different use cases. There could be corporate gifts, there could be giveaways. We've done CEO gifts. We've done one-offs for trade shows. Big people want a big splash, and we kind of run the gambit on how these are used. We also did a unique one not that long ago, where I also run corporate workshops, and we did a design based on the workshop theme, and then I used that design in the workshop that I was giving. So yeah, it really is very unique from one client to another what we're doing with these.
Sounds super fascinating, something that people are going to have to check out to fully understand. So, what would you say have been your biggest learnings as an employer since you began your business just about 4 years ago?
Wow, that's loaded. I can honestly say I knew nothing about business before I started.
Okay.
Uh, Everything that has happened has been organic. I, my education is in biology. And before that, I was, a creative person always, doing some woodworking, doing some painting, things like that. But as far as business, not at all. So I'd say my biggest learning is every single day.
Absolutely.
Uh,
So being someone that's gonna have to be a continuous learner, and I mean, we at Action Coach know that you can never outwork your education, so you have to constantly be learning, so you can constantly be doing more. What would you say have been some of the misconceptions about running a business, and how do you address them?
um, Again, this is very unique to my situation, but people hear the word Lego and they immediately think that I spend my days, building and playing, um, which is not the case at all. I don't think I've touched Lego in a little while, so most of my days are spent dealing with clients, project management, all of those things that we as business owners have to do. So that's the biggest misconception. And I think one thing that comes across a lot is people not understanding the amount of sacrifice and work that goes into being an entrepreneur. Um, there's a lot of glory and glamour, especially when I say, like today I locked in a contract with another client from Dubai. So I post that on Facebook and everybody's like, "Oh, that's amazing and wonderful," but they don't know how much work went into making that happen. So
Right.
there's a lot of glamorization behind it, but yeah, yeah.
So you just touched on a client in Dubai, which is a massive time change difference. So How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business across so many different time zones and those types of avenues?
I don't. I don't even pretend to. That's I feel that's a myth and something that we all like to play at. I mean, literally in my calendar, uh, if I'm gonna do something with my kids, it's booked off.
Yeah,
That's that's the way it is. And at the end of my day, when I have time, I definitely spend it with my kids and family. Um, but honestly, at this stage of the game, the success comes first. And it's again talking about the sacrifices. And those are the unpleasant ones that no business person likes to talk about and likes to say, but it's the absolute truth. You can't do these things without sacrifice.
absolutely. Sacrifices are important and unfortunately can be plenty at times. So what would you attribute your growth to?
There's a few factors that have come into play. One of them being COVID. It's we grew a lot during COVID, and because more adults came back to Lego as a mental health tool, as something that they can relax at. You don't need a whole lot to be building Lego. So during COVID, easy to get the Amazon orders in and, using that. So um, we had a really big uptick during that. And Lego itself is going through a renaissance.
Yeah,
We have shows like the Lego Masters. So that's becoming well known, and the potential as a marketing tool is being seen by businesses quite a bit. That's kind of where we put our emphasis on, is getting brands to understand how powerful it is to have their audience literally build their brand.
right.
It, so yeah, there's several factors in there that really play into the success that we've been able to have.
Which is awesome. So when you're looking at hiring, like what kind of qualities do you look for in that process and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment?
Sure. Um, Initially, so we're going back 3 years. When I started bringing on team members, it was just anybody who could put two Lego bricks together. Attitude was most important to me. As you can tell in our conversation, I'm a um, very dedicated learner. And the other thing I've always avoided is egos. We're in a client-based business, and a lot of artists in the world, Lego, whatever, have a certain ego about what they're doing and that it's their creation. But we have to take these things to the clients and take their feedback and make changes as needed. Same with working as a team. You got to be able to accept criticism and be able to work as a unit rather than an individual. So that's one thing I always weed out, uh, even straight out telling them that egos are just not welcome. So that's one of the
Absolutely.
main ones. Then as we progressed as a business, I started looking for graphic designers, engineers, any sort of people that had a professional background, because we started becoming more professional in our approach to things. And now we are looking for people that have experience in product development.
Yeah, absolutely, which is awesome and tremendous. So it's been quite the journey for you. So when you look back over the last 4, even 5 years before you kind of got started, if you had to start all over again tomorrow in business, what would you do differently this time starting up?
I'm going to be very blunt. I wouldn't start.
Okay.
uh, I tell people a lot about entrepreneur naivety.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to uh, a lady not that long ago who knows a lot about business. very heavily involved in helping other businesses. And she's been asked many times, why doesn't she start a business? And she doesn't really have, she was like, well, da 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 da. I enjoy helping people. And I was like, no, 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 no. There's a reason you don't start a business. You know what's involved. If any entrepreneur knew what was involved beforehand, I doubt there'd be as many entrepreneurs out there as there is. Going back to the glory and all of that, I think
Right.
entrepreneurship is a very hard road, which is why a lot of people fail at it.
Yep.
And without services like yours, to be honest, being able to coach people through, I've taken a lot on myself learning, but if you're not that kind of person where you can persevere and learn and make those mistakes and learn from the mistakes and etc., it's a very rough challenge. And I would say if you're not a persistent kind of person, then a 9 to 5 is the much easier road.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that aren't comfortable with the lack of security that can be with being an entrepreneur. But when we boil it down, if we create our own structure and we create our own safety lines, yes, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And sometimes we have to sprint during that marathon to keep up with everything else. But at the end of the day, it can be rewarding once we get over those humps and once we hit that critical mass and build that momentum. So I'm sure you're starting to kind of see a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel along your journey, where it'll become a little bit more on the rewarding side.
Absolutely. And there's always the freedom involved in it. And that's where
Right.
the real joy is. When you hit we're hitting the I guess upward trajectory of sales and growth. So I can see where, a lot of things will shift off of me where I can change my focus to other avenues. But yeah, it's definitely, that's the ultimate goal, I think, of anybody who's in business, is the independence of it. Some people love checking that 9 to 5.
Yeah,
I have
absolutely, they
never
do.
been that person, so
Yeah, there's something to be said about depending on what's on your calendar, hitting that snooze button an extra couple of times. But then the flip side of that is you might be answering an email at 11 o'clock at night. So
yeah,
with flexibility sometimes comes the inability to turn it all off. So that's where creating structure for ourselves is so important.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure today. Thank you so much for your time. It was great meeting you and learning more about your entrepreneurial journey. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thanks a lot, Jason.
Thank you.